everyone, and welcome back to the Broad Podcaster. I'm Jennifer Fierro here in the Highland Lakes, joined with Daniel Clifton, who covers Canyon Lake football for us. Daniel and I just talked about the Barnet Bulldogs and their big game on Friday night versus the Calhoun Sand Crabs in segment one. In this segment, we're going to talk about the Marble Falls Mustangs and what's going on with their football head coaching vacancy. Daniel, I had a chance to talk to Dr. Jeff Gasway, who's the superintendent of Marble Falls, and he outlined what he wants to do in the coming weeks. Marble Falls did send out on their social media. They did confirm that at 5:30 on Wednesday, November 29th, they have invited the community to show up to a community meeting where they want the community members to talk to them about the traits that they want to see in the next football coach. Dr. Gasaway, when he told me what he told me last week about that meeting, he called that a tentative date. Today they made that official. The timeline and what they want to do, they want to, because they posted the job last Wednesday. It closes on December 4th. The
Wow.
goal is to have three interview rounds. They're going to do 15-minute interviews. They're going to cut however many that is, and I would think in half, and invite 8 people to come in and interview in person before committee. Then they're going to cut that number for a final round. And that final round will include Dr. Gasaway, his top officials at MFISD, and his middle school and high school principals. Now, I am not sure who his top staff is. I have no idea. I didn't ask him to define that. I would anticipate Stan Whittle will be among the people sitting in on those meetings. But the goal is to present a candidate and ask the board to approve a hire during the regular meeting on December 18th.
Wow. Look
So
at that.
yes, and if he says we have a contingency or a backup if we find that we can't find the guy, and that's me saying that he would never say the guy. That like they've got a plan in place if they
Yeah.
hit that get to that date and they still don't have somebody they want to present. The starting salary $95,525, but he said that could fluctuate depending on the experience. Of course, all of this is on TexasChalkTalk.com, where you get the quotes and where he talks about what he's looking for, the things that he wants to see. There were a couple of things because one of the things I kept hearing last week was MFISD knows who they want to hire. I asked him that point blank. Do you have a leader? He said no. I
Okay.
believe him. So I do believe him. He did not say that he is looking for a specific scheme. He did not say that he's looking for a specific background. And we can talk about that because in the coaching world and especially on the collegiate and pro levels, you have the names, right? Everybody talks about the big names with Texas A&M and who the Aggies are going to go higher and who they're not. Um, Marble Falls, in that sense, Dr. Gasway reminded me a lot of Ross Bjork, where he flat out said, "There's not a candidate in mind, don't have a scheme in mind. I know there are 2 or 3 traits that I do want." He wants a head coach that'll spend time at the middle school
Hmm.
and you know help and assist, get to know some of those players, talk up the sport. And he also wants a head coach that will work hand in hand with the Marble Falls youth football and cheer and make sure that he gives them the playbook so that youth organization can start installing the base offense and the base defense, much like Coach Herman and Coach Scales did with the slot team.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 things that just looking at the makeup. Now, obviously, there'll be other things. You want somebody who can really get along, is comfortable, is comfortable under the spotlight of what it is to be in charge of an athletic department and especially a football program in the state of Texas. One of the things I did ask Dr. Gasaway was about facilities. And he said at this point, they evaluate each campus all the time. But he said if we were ever to build an indoor facility, it would not be an exclusive use to the athletic department only.
Yeah.
That he envisions the band using it and some of the other organizations at the high school, possibly the middle school, using it as well. So, and that I'm saying that because it was an opportunity to ask what he is thinking. I'm not saying that he's putting a bond together. Never got the impression that behind the scenes they're working on that. In fact, I walked out of there thinking quite the opposite. That right now they are doing some heavy duty evaluations and looking at personnel. There's a there's no doubt in my mind getting the football program to be consistently good is among the priorities in at at central office right now. I will tell you, I have ruffled some feathers of some of the retired football coaches in the area. They have not liked the fact that I talk about the 3-17 record for the last 2 years under Coach Herman's. That he left with the 22-33 overall record. I can respect that, but I don't know what else to tell them because at some point, how long do you say and how long do you wait when you have at a campus that has 1,000 students, you're getting less than 10% of the student body to play football.
Yeah.
So how long do you wait?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what to say about that. I've been intrigued by the A&M, what A&M did with Jimbo Fisher, $77 million. They owe him just under 20 million in 60 days. I was intrigued by that because there's a belief that number one, you can't afford to pay the student athletes, right? But you can afford to pay a coach that kind of money to go away, to
Yeah.
not be anywhere on your campus, and I say that because somebody said this, and I forget which podcaster it was because I listened to a lot of them, but somebody said you have to find the right guy. It's not so much about scheme. It's not so much about presence. You find the right guy. And in Marble Falls, a search for the right guy. I don't know that they are committed to one scheme versus another, that there's a belief that this scheme works over that scheme, that there's a belief that this scheme for the personnel that Marble Falls has is going to be better for the players as opposed to a scheme elsewhere. I do know this, no matter who Marble Falls brings in, that individual is going to need a lot of support and is going to need a stadium full of people that are going to come out and watch and cheer on these athletes and encourage them when they see them in town. Because winning in football, and especially in District 13, if Marble Falls stays within the same district, is hard. Burnet, Lampasas, they're not getting any worse over time. I hate to tell people
Burnet and
that.
Lampasas bring a lot of kids back too. I think Lampasas brings most of their team back, isn't it? Because I think those kids were like mostly juniors and sophomores.
Yes, and then I'll throw another one at you. As great as I think the Burnet class of 2024, the senior class is, I'm going to tell you, Rhett Murray is coming back for his senior year as a starting quarterback. And then they've got a sophomore class that I'm super excited about. I saw them as freshmen and thought a lot of them.
Yeah.
That class, that 2026 class, has a lot of intangibles in it. I don't think Burnett, I'm not saying that Burnett is a better job than Marble Falls. Don't hear me say that. Do hear me say that Burnett seems to be unafraid to change up what they do based off of the personnel and the talent,
Yeah.
because it's not about talent, but based off of what their what do their players do well,
Yeah.
and they are unafraid to scheme for that. They're unafraid to come up with an offense that works for that. And that's what I'm curious to see with Marble Falls. I I detest, and I'm going to give away one of my reporter secrets. I detest when I ask a source a question and they answer me with the question. Because you know what that tells me? They're hiding something.
Yeah.
I detest that. Every time, I'd rather somebody walk around my question than answer my question with a question. And I am going to tell you the chilling effect that I have is when I hear from various people in coaching searches tell me, ask this coach specifically this question, and I got an answer. The answer I got was a question in response to a question. And I thought to myself, if I were on that search committee, that would be a negative mark against that candidate, and I would not vote to hire that candidate. So that's where I'll be curious to see. There's a It'll be interesting to see what Marble Falls comes up with, because I'm not sure what the scenario I don't want. There was a belief, and I heard this from one of my sources before Herman got the job. And I don't know that anybody at MFISD will ever confirm this to me, but I think I told you this. So here's the story. Marble Falls offered the job 2 or 3 different times to the same coach, and each time he told them no. And on the third time, he said, "My mind is made up. I'm not taking the job. Don't call me back." Then they went down the list of who was going to take the job, and the first yes they got is who was going to get that job.
Yeah.
That is the scenario that was painted to me years ago, and I sure hope I'm wrong on that.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I didn't think the Marble Falls job was a good job. It was a better job in Herman's second year because we were in the Austin ISD district. There's no guarantee. In fact, like I told you, there's more confidence today with MFISD that we will stay 4A. Not moving up to 5A, we're going to stay where we are. There's a belief that Austin ISD will not opt up. They will take, so if if they are listed as a 4AD1, they're going to stay 4AD1. They're not going to opt up. Okay. Whereas the last realignment, they decided to opt up to 5A no matter the enrollment numbers. So that will be interesting, because what I'm trying to say politely is it won't surprise me if you see more teams that were great in 4A come back 2 years ago, come back to 4A this next realignment, because they haven't done much in 5A. And at one time, 5A had the most members of any classification in the state of Texas. 4A had the smallest. So that's what I'll be curious to see when realignment's announced in February. Do you have any thoughts?
I think realignments, yeah. I'm curious to see what Marble Falls does in that coaching position, who comes and who looks and who they bring to the table. I think it's a lot better spot to be in position wise. Marble Falls is a better spot than when you first got back, for sure, after that first round, you know. So yeah.
Well, I will say this to you. I do not believe that Marble Falls will stick to that 96,000. No way. I think Marble Falls will go higher. And the question is, how much higher?
Of 100.
I think that 96 is a starting point. I would highly advise the community, but see, I have a different opinion. I am one of the few people who says I do not begrudge coaches the money because, in my mind, they are the only department that gets a pass fail test weekly, and the scoreboard does not lie. And I will have academic people all over me for saying that. I'm not saying it's the most important. Don't hear me say that. Do hear me say that when Mac Brown was winning 10 games a year, you Texas fans did not care if we paid him $5 million, $10 million a year, as long as he was winning. But the year in 2010 he goes 5-7, all of a sudden he's an overpaid coach. Believe me, I heard that in my own home, in my own household. They were mad about that. All of a sudden, the salary was too much because Mac goes 5-7. So, and that's what I'm used to seeing. That's why I don't begrudge A&M making the change. You pay a coach $77 million to go away, okay, so that you can go in and hire somebody who is going to get you. If you are the elite program you believe to be, then you have to have the wins of an elite program.
Mhm.
And the elite programs average 10 wins a year. No questions asked. That's anything short of that. It is the difference between being a good, a great, and elite program. Period.
Yeah.
And that is where we are. I will not, I will say this to you: to get the right coach means you're going to have to pay between 110 to 120 a year. I honestly believe that. So that I will probably am in the minority. But I will tell you, my family, we love winning playoff games. Love winning playoff games.
Yeah.
So, and it's in the last 2 years have not been a whole lot of fun for me, and they haven't enjoyed it either. And I think there are a lot of Marble Falls families who would agree with that. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, that'd be for right now. And just curious, I'm just looking forward to that Sand Crab Bulldog game.
Yeah, I am very curious to see what Burnett comes up with, and I really want Burnett and Lampasas to both win on Friday night or this week. I
Yeah.
really want them to win. Okay, remember, go to TexasChalkTalk.com for all of your Highland Lake sports news. For Daniel Clifton, I'm Jennifer Fierro, your broad podcaster here in the Highland Lakes. We'll catch you next week. Enjoy the games, everyone.